My worry with exoskeletons is you start putting robotics around humans to assist them in what they do.
I would rather a robot go on and do the dirty work than have my kids out there. But
Absolutely. When you're diffusing a 5-ton sea mine.
yeah, it'll highlight bad guys in red. You'll actually be able to see through walls. So if you have somebody shooting at you from a lip, when they drop back down, you can see exactly where they're at. Just wait for them to pop back up. And so we have a Patreon account. It's a subscription account, and they've been with me since the beginning when I was doing this in my attic. It turned it into one hell of a community. And so one of the things I do is I offer them the opportunity to ask each and every guest a question. This is from Stephen Casey. What do you see as the boundary between human endeavor and neuro-controlled robotics on the battlefield? And if there's no real boundary, does that mean we substitute robots for human wholesale? If we do, what does that mean as to the ultimate human cost of war, which has historically been a huge metric on warfare?
Great question.
That's it, yeah.
And I wish there was only one line, because in the middle there's the partnership of robots and human beings in one entity like exoskeletons. So starting off with human beings, and you look at the ongoing conflicts right now, they're done human to human assisted by drone technologies, not yet robotics. There are elements of it. And if you go to the other end, having robots just doing conflict, I think, to me, I can't envisage what that looks like. I think it's a leap too far. The conflict will become increasingly machine teaming, and increasingly I can't see the sense of humans standing in defending positions where you can put automated machines to do it. Technology certainly allows you to do that in a responsible manner. So I think we can be a lot more judicious about how we put lives at risk, but I just cannot see a future where you will not need the highest trained soldiers. I think soldiers are becoming more and more special and more enabled. One of the key points I've been looking at most recently is exoskeletons. It's all about the concept of human augmentation. And my worry with exoskeletons is you start putting robotics around humans to assist them in what they do, you start disadvantaging the human being themselves. And because we have a propensity to push for greater and greater things, so if, for instance, certain type of exoskeleton is really, really powerful and it can be used a lot, it'll be overused. And if, take the concept of an arm man suit. If you put a human being in an arm man suit and it's not chiming you to do what you are trained to do, your muscles, you absolutely depend upon your own physiology to drive your health. And an over-reliance on something in the middle like an exoskeleton, although it could mean a soldier can march with a 130 kilogram pack over 100 miles, I have a problem with that, because you will disadvantage the human being in making those sorts of choices. So choose where you put robotics in judiciously and save life by doing it, but don't compensate human biology. The art is to shift the human biological limit further to the right.
Yeah, warfare is just changing so fast right now, and there's all these different companies that I've been diving into, like Endural. We got this guy coming on that was a former SEAL, Dino Mavrukas, and he's doing autonomous surface warfare vehicles. And man, it's just, we have unmanned subs, we have unmanned planes, we have unmanned surface warfare vessels. I mean, it already does look completely different than when I was in. And I don't know, first I was pretty apprehensive, but that was probably my ego thinking no robot could ever do the fucking job that I did. But I mean, these things, now I kind of have changed my tune, and I mean, it does preserve our lives, and having kids, and you have kids too. Yeah. I mean, I would rather a robot go on and do the dirty work than have my kids out there. But
Absolutely. When you're diffusing a 5-ton sea mine,
yeah,
I'd much rather, you know, I'm an absolute supporter and advocate of unmanned systems that can look at threats as well as illegal maritime shipping and fishing. You know, this is a real age of dual purpose technology, and these unmanned systems are incredibly advantageous for us. You know, we should look to preserve life. We shouldn't try to remove the challenges and hardship from human endeavour. You know, and maybe not all conflict. I know, you know, I can't sort of qualify this statement by saying metrically this happens, but I can't see that all conflict is going to be able to be handed over to robotic systems.
yeah,
And I think somewhere in the line, human judgment has to come in.
yeah. I think that's kind of the so far with everybody I've talked to. That's the premise is the final decisions will be made by humans, but especially with some of these things like scale AI and Palantir. I mean, it's the interesting thing is it's taking the intel and all the things that go into the decision making process, and instead of actually having humans do it, where it would take days, sometimes weeks, maybe even months. I mean, it's literally displayed all the different outcomes and the probability of what could happen and your percentage of winning. I mean, it's all handed to you through AI within hours or less.
Yeah.
And so, interesting subject. Great
I'd just
question.
like to add, I mean, I was in a park watching a child play with a drone, one of those small drones that tethers to you, you know, and it can quickly, you know, the future is, it's already there. Now that drone can recognise a facial feature, capture it, lock it on, and tether it. And I was sort of joking in my own head, going, I wonder if I can outrun that. I'm
Yeah.
going to go back and try and have a race with it,
Yeah.
see if I can. You know, this technology is brilliant.
Have you?
It's already there, and it's on the street. You know, it's like a drone that can tether to you and will follow you around, whatever. It's there, and you
Yeah.
can buy it for very small amounts of money off the shelf. I won't say the drone it was in that case.
Have you? I mean, some of the ways they're integrating technology is just. I mean, have you heard about the helmets that Palmer Luckey's designed with Anduril?
Not, I haven't, but
Oh man! So he's making it's like an interface heads up display, and it will replace all, not just special operations, which I love because special operations always gets the cream of the crop. But I think what's really cool is that all military ground units will get this eventually. But basically, it almost looks like a pilot helmet, you know, with the visor. And he's integrated. I believe it. I could be wrong, but it's like the next generation of night vision, which integrates color and thermal and all these things. And not only that, it will there'll be a heads up display of where all your guys are at if you're on the ground. Tell you highlight them in blue or green or whatever color. It'll highlight bad guys in red. You'll actually be able to see through walls. So if you have somebody shooting at you from a lip, when they drop back down, you can see exactly where they're at. Just wait for them to pop back up, and it'll do. I mean, it's just insane. Like the technology, it'll even identify friendly and foe aircraft, and by the way that they're maneuvering, tell you what it's about to do. I mean, it's a whole nother game out there right now. So,
yeah, and it's really interesting because you confuse all of that incredible technology, and I'm all for it, you know. But we've got to remember it's all going back into a human being, you know. And even in 10 years ago, you can get cognitive overload with all of this, right? And but I think all of that technology is good. We just have to be very judicious about how you apply it
yeah,
and what that human being in it can reasonably be expected to apply it for. Because you can easily get overloaded with everything. You know, as a chain JTAC, and you've got multiple nets going on. All good stuff. Your brain learns how to do it. We call it 4D thinking. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, the power of what's inside there is incredibly powerful as well. You can build pictures and you can almost imagine where that aircraft is. To have it in a hood is absolutely brilliant. I remember, I think you have to learn to use it. Remember, when you're putting that on, that's remapping neuronal pathways in your brain. So you're actually pushing the human biological limit along, in my eyes, as well. You know, your brain will learn very, very quickly to adapt to what that extra coding, what that extra
Yeah.
signals are. You know, and it's incredibly powerful and adaptive. So human beings can take this, you know, and definitely they can adapt to it. So I'm all for technology. I'd love to, you know, blue force tracking is absolutely critical. You know, it's one of the hardest things you have to do.
Yeah.
I'd be aware where each other are. But also remember the criticality of your own instincts and your own senses, and not having an over-reliance on technology. And we used to wear a lot less protection because actually we trusted ourselves. So, you know, the power of, you know, sense and instinct is incredibly important to soldiers.
Human intuition.
Yeah, absolutely. Human intuition, instinct, sixth sense, gut instinct, whatever you want to call it, it's there and it's very, very real. And we need to ensure we keep that at the forefront of the people that's doing it. Empowering with technology. I think Palmer Lucky's Andrew, wasn't he, Andrew? Mm-hmm. Yes.